Hey everyone, and a huge shout out to all our ambitious listeners in Africa who are dreaming of opportunities abroad.
You know, it's amazing how many young people are looking for ways to use their skills and build a future somewhere that really values their talent, you know?
Yeah, and that's what today's deep dive is all about. We're taking a look at Ireland's critical skills employment permit.
It's exciting. It's a pathway, potentially to a whole new life in Ireland.
Okay, so we're not just talking about finding a job, right? We're talking about contributing to a country that's actually looking for your skills. But before we get into all that, let's back up a bit. What exactly is this critical skills employment permit?
So basically, it replaced the old green card system, and it's all about attracting skilled individuals to fill those gaps in the Irish workforce.
Okay, so they're looking for specific skills. What kinds of fields are we talking about here?
Oh, tons. Like key sectors like ICT, engineering, even healthcare. Think like nurses, midwives, those are in high demand.
So it's not just tech jobs, right? It's a pretty broad range of opportunities. But I'm guessing there are some requirements, some hoops to jump through to qualify for this permit.
Of course, yeah, there are requirements, but they're all about making sure it's a win-win for both the applicant and Ireland. Think of it as a two-way street. And one of the big ones is salary.
Okay, salary makes sense. How does that work?
Well, there are actually two main paths you can take depending on the job offer you get.
All right, lay it on me. What are these two paths?
So the first one is for jobs that are offering at least 38,000 euros per year.
Okay, 38,000 euros. Got it.
And this is for specific occupations.
Yeah.
Ones that are in super high demand, strategically important for Ireland's economy.
Right. So for our listeners with a degree, say, in software development or maybe nursing, this path could be a great way to get their foot in the door.
Exactly. And for that first path, you'll also need a relevant degree.
Gotcha. So degree and a good salary. What about the second path?
Okay, so the second path is for those who have job offers over 64,000 euros per year.
Oh, wow. That's a significant jump. 64,000 euros.
Yeah, and this one is a bit more flexible in terms of, the actual job. It pretty much covers any eligible occupation except for a few on a specific list. And sometimes lots of experience can actually substitute for a formal degree.
Interesting. So whether you've got the paper or the hands-on experience, there's potentially a pathway for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so both paths offer competitive salaries, which is awesome. What else makes this permit stand out apart from the salary, I mean?
Well, one of the biggest benefits is that there's no labor market needs test.
Okay. I've heard that term before, but I'm not totally sure what it means. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. So basically, it means the process is, it's more straightforward. You don't have to go through all the trouble of proving that there's no one else in Ireland who could do the job you're applying for. They already know there's a need for your skills.
Ah, I see. That's a huge EE advantage. It really shows that Ireland is serious about attracting skilled workers.
Mm.
Okay, so we've talked about salary and a streamlined process. But what about, like, family? Can you bring your loved ones with you?
Definitely, yeah. That's another big plus. With this permit, you can apply for family reunification.
Wow. I mean, spouses, partners can join you, right?
Yeah,
And they can work too.
that's right. They can actually get permission to work.
So it's not just about your career, it's about building a life together.
Exactly. And speaking of building a life, the critical skills employment permit isn't just temporary. It actually offers a route to permanent residency in Ireland.
Wow. That's amazing.
Mm.
So it's not just a work visa, it's a potential pathway to actually settling down in Ireland.
Right.
But you mentioned earlier that there are other requirements besides the salary. What else do our listeners need to be aware of?
Right. So first off, you need an actual job offer from an Irish employer.
Makes sense.
And it can't be just any job, of course. It has to be in one of those eligible occupations from that list we talked about earlier.
Right. So research is key. Finding the right job that matches those eligible occupations.
Yeah, absolutely. And the job offer has to be for at least 2 years with a minimum stay of 9 months with that first employer.
Okay, so there's a commitment involved, right? It's not just a short-term thing. You're really planting roots in Ireland.
Exactly. And there are also, the usual requirements like having the right qualifications and experience for the role.
Right, of course. That makes
Yeah.
sense. They want to make sure you're set up for success. Anything else that might surprise our listeners? Any, like, hidden details we should mention?
Well, one thing to keep in mind is that for a company to hire someone on this permit, generally at least 50% of their employees need to be EEA nationals.
Ah, okay. So there are measures in place to ensure a balance in the workforce. That makes sense. Are there any Um, any exceptions to that rule?
Yeah, actually, there are exceptions. So, for example, startups that are less than 2 years old and supported by either Enterprise Ireland or IDA Ireland are exempt from that rule.
Okay, so that's good news for anyone who's interested in, working for a cutting-edge, innovative company. That could be a good route to explore. Okay, I'm taking notes here. So let's say I've got the job offer, I meet all the requirements, and I'm ready to take the plunge. How do I actually apply for this critical skills employment permit?
Well, the whole application process is actually online, which is super convenient. It's all handled through something called the Employment Permits Online System, or EPOS for short.
EPOS. Got it. Sounds simple enough,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing there's more to it than just filling out a form online, right?
Yeah, you'll definitely need to gather, some specific documents and information. But the good news is they have a really helpful user guide right there on the EPOS website that walks you through everything step by step.
Gee, that's reassuring.
Hmm.
So they've got your back. What about timelines? How far in advance do you need to apply?
Planning ahead is super important here. You need to submit your application at least 12 weeks before you plan to start working in Ireland.
Okay, so don't wait until the last minute. Got it.
Yeah.
So what happens during that 12-week waiting period? What can our listeners expect?
Right, so once you submit your application, it goes through three main stages. The first is basically just acknowledging they've received it.
Right, so that's easy enough.
Then it moves into processing. This is where a decision maker looks everything over and they might ask for some more information, so be ready to respond quickly.
Okay, so it's a pretty thorough process.
Yeah,
Then what?
then it's decision time. They either grant or refuse the application.
Okay, so it's the moment of truth.
Hmm.
And if it's a no, do they tell you why?
Oh, yeah, they'll give you the reasons why it was refused.
Yeah.
And you can actually appeal the decision if you think it was unfair.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So there's transparency and a process in place. Okay, let's talk about money, the elephant in the room. What are the fees like for this permit?
Yeah, sure. So the fee is €1,000.
Okay, that's a decent chunk of change. What happens if the application isn't successful? Do you get any of that money back?
Yeah, definitely. If your application is unsuccessful, you actually get a 90% refund.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're trying to, profit off of unsuccessful applications.
Exactly. They want to be fair about it.
Good to hear. And just to be clear, the employer can't take that fee out of my salary, right?
Nope, not at all. The law is really clear on that. They can't deduct it from your earnings at all.
That's reassuring. It seems like Ireland really protects its skilled workers. Okay, so fast forward. I've got my permit. I'm on my way to Ireland, ready for this new adventure. What happens next?
All right, so if you need a visa to enter Ireland, you'll have to apply for that through your local Irish embassy or consulate. All the info you need is on their website, irishimmigration.ie.
All right, I'll make a note of that. irishimmigration.ie. So even with the permit, there's still some visa things to sort out.
Exactly, yeah. And once you get to Ireland, you'll need to register with the Garda National Immigration Bureau. It's an important step.
Okay, so don't forget to register. What about those who are already in Ireland on a different visa? Can they switch over to this critical skills employment permit?
Yeah, for sure. They can definitely apply, but they'll have to register the change of status with the Garda National Immigration Bureau once they get the new permit.
Got it. So keep everything up to date. So let's say I'm in Ireland, I'm working, everything's going great. But what about renewals? How does that work with this permit?
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. With the Critical Skills Employment Permit, you don't actually need to renew it through the Department of Enterprise, Trade, and Employment.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That sounds too good to be true.
It's true. You can apply directly to the Department of Justice for a Stamp 4.
A stamp 4, what's that?
A Stamp 4 is it gives you residency in Ireland. It means you can live and work there without needing a work permit.
Wow. So it's like the ultimate goal. Okay, but what happens if I don't qualify for a stamp 4?
In that case, you'd be issued a Stamp 1, and you'd still need a work permit.
Okay, so there are different options depending on, on your situation. But what happens if, let's say, I lose my job? Are there any safety nets in place?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, good.
If you're made redundant, if your company downsizes or something, you actually get a 6-month grace period to find a new job.
Oh, wow. That's a great safety net.
Yeah, and even if your old job title isn't on the critical skills list anymore, you can still apply for a new permit as long as you meet all the other requirements.
Yeah, that's good to know. So you've got options. What's the most important thing to remember if you do lose your job?
The key is to, be proactive and tell the Department of Enterprise, Trade, and Employment what happened within 4 weeks.
Okay, so communicate, communicate, communicate. That's key. Last question, man. What if my company gets bought out or merges with another company? Does my permit just, poof, disappear?
No, no, not at all. There's something called transfer of undertakings, basically, meaning your permit can move with you if your company is acquired or merges.
Ah, okay, so it's like a built-in protection for your permit.
Exactly. Just make sure you tell the Department of Enterprise, Trade, and Employment about the changes.
Okay, so keep them in the loop. One final question. What if, for whatever reason, my employment ends and I decide to leave Ireland? What do I do with the permit?
You need to return it to the Department of Enterprise, Trade, and Employment within 4 weeks of your job ending.
Okay, so send it back.
Yeah.
Simple enough.
Yeah. You can even do it electronically, which is super easy.
All right, electronically. Got it. Anything else about that process?
Just a heads up, keeping the permit after your employment ends is actually an offense. So better to be safe than sorry.
That's good advice. Okay, wow. We've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. We've talked about what the critical skills employment permit is, who it's for, the benefits, the requirements, and even what happens if things change. But we're just getting started. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll really dive into what it's like to actually live and work in Ireland. We'll be right back. Okay, so now I want to shift gears a bit and talk about the experience of living and working in Ireland. For some of our listeners, this could be a really big move, a new country, new culture.
Right. It's a big decision. But, Ireland has a reputation for being super welcoming to people from other countries. The Irish people are known for being friendly, warm, always ready for a chat.
I can picture it now,
Yeah.
sitting in a cozy pub with traditional Irish music playing and friendly faces all around. But beyond the stereotypes, what's daily life actually like in Ireland?
Well, it's a really modern country, vibrant, with a fascinating history and a rich culture. You've got bustling cities like Dublin and Cork with everything you could need. But you also have those charming small towns and villages where things move at a bit of a slower pace.
So there's something for everyone, depending on what you're looking for. But what about finding your community? I imagine that for a lot of young Africans moving to Ireland, it's important to connect with people who understand their experiences.
Oh, definitely. And you'll find that Ireland has a very diverse population these days. There are tons of expats from all over the world, including a lot from Africa. So you'll be able to find your people, build those support networks.
That's great to hear, because it's not just about the job, right? It's about feeling comfortable, feeling like you belong in this new place.
Exactly. And the Irish people are really good at making people feel welcome. They're known for their inclusivity and, their willingness to embrace different cultures.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like you could really build a life there. But let's talk about the practical stuff. Things like healthcare, education, the overall quality of life. What's it like?
Well, Ireland has a universal healthcare system, so that means everyone has access to affordable medical care. And the standard of care is very high. Plus, they've got a great education system with excellent universities and colleges.
Sounds like a good place to be.
And, in terms of quality of life, Ireland always ranks really high in global surveys. It's safe, clean, peaceful, with a real sense of community.
Wow, it's sounding better and better. But let's be real, there have to be some challenges too, right? Nothing's perfect.
Well, of course, every country has its own challenges. For example, the cost of living in some cities, like Dublin, can be pretty high. And finding affordable housing can be a bit tough, especially in the more popular areas.
Okay, so that's definitely something to consider. Factor that into the decision-making.
For sure. And naturally, there's always the challenge of, adapting to a new culture, a new way of life. But the Irish people are really patient and understanding. They're used to welcoming people from all backgrounds.
It's about being open-minded, ready for an adventure, right?
Exactly. And remember, there's a whole community of people who've been through the same experience, so you're not alone.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about the benefits, the requirements, the application process, and now even what it's like to actually live in Ireland.
I think we've given our listeners a pretty good overview of the critical skills employment permit.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but it's really valuable information.
Absolutely. But the most important takeaway here is that this isn't just about getting a job, it's about building a future.
You're so right. It's about grabbing the opportunity to live, work, and really thrive in a place that appreciates your talent and your ambitions.
And if any of our listeners are feeling inspired and want to find out more, I'd highly recommend checking out Immigration Bridging Academy.
Yeah. They offer those free consultations where you can get personalized advice, figure out if this program is the right fit for you.
They really know their stuff when it comes to immigration, and they can help you understand all the details of the critical skills employment permit.
So what are you waiting for? Reach out to them. We'll put all their info in the description below. And before we move on, I just want to thank all our amazing listeners for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, it's been great to chat with you all. We hope you found this information useful.
Welcome back, everyone. We've talked about the ins and outs of the Critical Skills Employment Permit, and we've even gotten a glimpse of what life in Ireland could be like.
It's really inspiring to think about all the doors this permit could open, especially for young people with big dreams.
Yeah, it's not just a job. It's a
Okay.
chance to really build a future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, those ambitious young Africans who are looking to make their mark on the world, this permit could be a real game changer.
It really could. Think about it. You could be gaining international work experience, contributing your skills to a thriving economy, and maybe even settling down in a country that embraces diversity.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless. Imagine working for a cutting-edge tech company in Dublin, collaborating with people from all over the world.
Or maybe you're providing essential healthcare services in a smaller community, making a real difference in people's lives.
Or even starting your own business, bringing your own unique ideas to a place that's known for its entrepreneurial spirit.
The point is, this permit gives you options.
Yeah.
It lets you step outside your comfort zone, try new things, and maybe even discover talents you didn't know you had.
And all those experiences, the challenges, the connections you make, those will shape you, help you grow both personally and professionally.
It's like an investment in yourself, in your future.
And then you can take all that you've learned and bring it back to your home country, becoming a leader, inspiring others to follow their own dreams.
It's a beautiful cycle, taking that leap, embracing the unknown, and then using those experiences to empower others.
It's about breaking down barriers, showing everyone that anything is possible if you're willing to put in the effort and step outside of your comfort zone.
So for all our listeners out there who are dreaming big, dreaming of a brighter future, we say this: don't be afraid to take that chance. Do your research, prepare yourself, and then go for it.
Remember, even the longest journey starts with a single step. And that step could be as simple as reaching out to Immigration Bridging Academy for a free consultation.
They're there to help you figure out if this path is right for you. They'll answer your questions, give you personalized advice, and make sure you're ready to take on this exciting new chapter.
So take that first step. Explore what's out there. You might just surprise yourself.
We've come to the end of our deep dive into Ireland's Critical Skills Employment Permit, but we hope this is just the beginning of your journey. Thanks for joining us, and remember, the world is full of opportunities. Go out there and make them yours.